Are you a teenager that's still growing, that practices and or competes in organized sports 3 times a week? Are you an adult that does endurance athletics at any age? Are you a 76-inch tall, 325-pound, 45-year-old large-frame man? Are you a 72-inch tall, 175-pound, 20 to 30-year-old man that works out 3 times a week and goes through an office job? Are you any construction worker, fitness trainer, sanitation worker, landscaper, anyone in a very active job that involves lots of lifting, climbing stairs, walking, being on their feet, and moving around all damn day? Are you a 65-inch tall, 26-year-old woman at a sedentary desk job that you do cardio or some yoga at the gym 3 times a week? And you weigh 135 pounds. Are you a 70-inch tall, 55-year-old man? I'm almost there. In a sedentary desk job. I do YouTube videos. I used to bicycle a lot. Let's move on. That does cardio, stationary bike, 30 minutes twice a week. I used to do it. God almighty, how much did I do? Wow. I rode a bike, not stationary, 4.5 miles twice a day, bare minimum, every day, every week. And were you slightly overweight at 175 pounds at the time? If you're lightly active, you should reduce your intake to lose weight, if you're overweight, by 350 calories reduction each day. You do this by getting better quality food that might seem to cost more, but you're consuming less of it, and it just has better food value, and even possibly foods that have more calories in them that take up less space. A dense, nutrient-packed food with no filler or just no fluff. Where did the 2,000 calorie a day or 8.4 gigajoule per day budget come from? Back in World War II, they considered 8 main nutrients to prevent you from getting anything like scurvy and calories. Pure calories can keep you going for a week, 2 weeks, whatever, but not having any of the nutrients will slowly cause reduction in functionality, reduction in brain function, and eventually cause chronic and then eventually permanent damage. This was under calories and nutrient issues that might affect the national defense efforts after World War I. By World War II, 8 nutrients and the calorie budget was what they were talking about. And they were analyzing dock workers that were supplying ships, people who built aircraft, people who literally lugged crap around or were running back and forth, moving things without getting tired, aka optimum, nearly Olympic level or beyond athletic performance as being your 2,000 calorie a day diet budget. This is based on the methods they used at the time with the new burgeoning concept of nutritional science. And we can extrapolate from that data they collected, which was mostly people keeping track of what they ate each day and how they felt. If they were up to the task at all times, this was mostly dock workers and shift workers for the First World War and the beginning of the Second World War. How much did they have to eat to not get exhausted? And also, one of the other qualifying questions, to not feel bloated or sick to their stomach in any way. Did you get dizzy at all during the day? Did you need to sit down? Be honest, because we really do need to know that. Because we need to know what's causing it, because war effort. Nutrition, the Food and Nutrition Board's RDA Recommended Daily Allowances 1941 standard. Revised 1968 by the Food and Drug Administration as the reference dietary intake numbers. An actual standard based on also including ordinary workers, 1968 style. No, there weren't any vloggers at the time. Okay? All right? Even people still doing switchboard work, women putting plugs in versus pushing buttons, they could measure their weight gain when they switched over to not having to at least move a little bit. Typewriters were originally designed so that the keys wouldn't jam because they were a mechanical piece of equipment. So they spread out the keys the way we have as the QWERTY keyboard. The ABC keyboard is actually more efficient for typing quickly. It's considered a form of cheating, and you can't use it for the world record highest speed words per minute count because it's considered cheating. But switching over to electric typewriters, 1970s style, yes, I did a whole video on that. Don't argue with me. Shut up. The metal ball instead of clunk, chunk. Can you ka-chunk all the keys? There was a Garfield cartoon showing Garfield stomping all the keys on the keyboard to ka-chunk them all. Because the guy doing the comic strip was also a writer who had a mechanical keyboard, and he wanted to see if he could ka-chunk every key at once. So he had Garfield do it in the cartoon. So since 1990, Nutritional Label Education Act that mandated this more often, and the 1973 voluntary food labeling that a lot of people got on the bandwagon with because it was a very good idea, and people were becoming food conscious, and there was the threat of it being mandated. It became mandated, 20 years later, a little bit less. About the time everybody born during that year that got a hold of sugar water instead of real baby formula turned into adults who heard the stories and decided to start voting the living dog shit out of things in the 1990s. See also, eventually, the fall of the Soviet Union, but let's move on. 2016, after 48 years and 68% of American adults being overweight or obese by this point, the FDA finally updated the 8 nutrients to more nutrients and the 2,000 calorie diet reference point to match what science said about average consumers of food instead of borderline Ironman athletes. Depending on your body's composition, everything, 2,000 calorie diet for someone very young isn't going to get them through the day. Little kids that are very active, that are running around, that are literally turning calories into bone. I mean, they're expending most of the energy to building themselves. Don't even bring up kids below teenage down to 3 years old. They consume, they inhale everything. The point, do you remember being a kid? Yeah, I can't eat 4 hot dogs in a row anymore. I did that as a kid. I didn't gain weight, I lost weight. That's a metabolism issue. But the point is, everybody's a little bit different. The original numbers were based on whoever was physically qualified to be in the military. They had a certain, they had to wash people out at one point. Eventually, they wouldn't wash you out. They just put you in a desk job. But they didn't measure the desk job people. The people who were actually at the front in a trench consumed a huge amount of energy. But it's 2,000 calories. That's your budget. That was the budget where they might bitch and complain, but they didn't get lightheaded enough to make it worth a damn. They were able to fight. That was the bare minimum. So if you gave them that and then supplemented it like every couple of days with a slice of pie, they were good. I mean, at functioning level. Not happy. Not, this is my half-calf, decaf, Starbucks enema. It's a Fight Club reference. Anyway, that 2016 update that was supposed to be done took 4 years because the industry dragged its feet because it liked its non-scientific numbers and didn't want to change labeling because in 2016 even, changing the labeling on shit you're printing was hard. They also changed, after this, you then later on had to use the new numbers with the new measurement methods, which weren't that different. They told them you can extrapolate it for the 4 years, so they did, and they finally changed them over by 2020. After 52 Samuel Jackson mother years. 52 fucking years. When I was 52, they finally changed the labeling as being mandated, not just on food supplements and stuff, but on actual food. Based on testing 4 tons of each food that's fresh, 4 tons of each processed food that's standard, and 4 tons of containered food, or whatever it is the standard is, to get the numbers. Got to get those numbers up. All right. So, if you're not familiar with inches in other countries, good. 320-pound big mofos in their 40s really consume 1,900 calories per day. Really big people, fat people, need less calories to maintain their weight as being obese. Once you have the calories, your body starts getting more efficient. The majority of people, if you're not aware of it, that are overweight when they eat the same diet you do, I mean, they're not cheating, they're not actually screwing around, they really are just overweight, would have to, and this is true, change their diet to things that make it really hard for them to gain weight and really hard for them to get sick. That takes a lot of work. Short of becoming a vegan, a vegetarian, or a vegetarian Nazi, 2,000 calories is just too much for people who are already fat. In order to lower their weight, they would have to work a lot. Now, I want to point out something. The majority of people in this country don't dig ditches and also don't lay bricks. Or the real work people talked about when I was a kid isn't done as much anymore. It's done by people with specialties and things. I mean, I'm sorry, but fix it again, Tony, Fiat. The guy at the car repair place is a goddamn technician. And I'm sorry if you look at any of the channels run by any of these people who do repair on your car. Most of them are borderline geniuses, but they're doing real work every day and lifting and hugging things and moving things around. Some might have a spare tire, but they'll die a lot longer death than you will and a lot later. I spent the previous 10 years before the COVID-19 pandemic, 10 years off and on, pedaling my bike every day, twice minimum in most cases. Sometimes I was sedentary, but most of the time twice a day, for anywhere from a half a mile to 4 miles. And for the last stretch before COVID-19, it was 4 miles both ways, no matter what the weather was, because that's how I got somewhere to get to have water and food and internet access and coffee. Coffee is a motivator. I don't care if you like it. 2,000 a day diet is what I found out I did. I just saved all the receipts for 1 week and all the packaging, which took up a pretty good amount of space on my bike. Because I was homeless, camping the entire time. And I counted up the calories per container I'd consumed. And it evened out to 2,000 calories, and I had at 99, all the way down to 80% RDA for everything. But being homeless will kill you eventually. But I'd gotten extraordinarily good at it. Now that I've been sedentary for too many years now, I'm experiencing some of the symptoms from spontaneous or intermittent blood pressure increase. Yes, I've done the cuff thing at the thing. I have normal blood pressure. Unless I'm scared out of my mind at a hospital, which always has a rolling down blood pressure. I'm sorry, you can't give me enough anesthetic. I can't get high enough to not have high blood pressure at a hospital. But I'm just sitting there, boop. Okay, and I check, and it was certified, it was calibrated the day before. So I actually did that, Fred Meyer or whatever. I drink coffee, it goes up. I eat too much food, it goes up. I'm now eating too many food items. My weight's gone up. I'll put my weight below. I'm not ideal. But I'm not as bad as the average at 68, almost 70% of Americans as of 2016. And yes, the industry tried to hide that they weren't giving us accurate information. And yeah, everybody out there screaming you're fat shaming or whatever. No, I'm talking about actually medically obese people. A person who's genetically predispositioned to weigh 200 pounds and be 5 foot tall will probably outlive all of us. Were you born that way versus have you made yourself into that? I've been overweight only once before in my life, and now I'm slightly going there. Some food for thought. or lack of it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck.